I.S.U.P.K 53rd Annual Lord Passover.
53rd Annual Lord's Passover is going to be held down here in Florida.
It's going down.
You're here tonight to get a chance to be righteous enough to be worthy of God coming to save you.
That's right.
It's going down. The Lord's 53rd Annual Passover.
When we say we no cowards, we stop that business. We no cowards up in here.
Book your hotels now at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites, the IHG Hotel, 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa Beach, Florida, 32926.
Here's a lot of man down. You dealing with the men of war. We at war. I sided with the
Counter all your dishes, pots, pans, forks, knives.
I kind of like this. This is like an apartment, and a hotel. You know what I mean? This here, right here, is about to be holy ground. It's going to be holy ground. All our beautiful, wonderful brothers and sisters from all over the world. You understand? We can boast that now. Brothers and sisters coming not only from every state, but from all over the world. I heard the numbers this year is ridiculous. We had to buy out the whole hotel.
Friday, April 15th at the Space Coast Convention Center.
My camp undefeated. You cannot debate. You just want the clout. We just want the grace. I'm just trying to get it.
This is going to be glorious.
We don't give a fuck, you can see it in our faces. Got it out the mud, straight up out the base.
All right, let's clap it up. Shalom, DC, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Under Commander General Yahanna. Since 1969, we've been teaching the truth of the Bible, and the truth is that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the true Jews according to the Bible, and that our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. We are not affiliated with any other Hebrew Israelite camp or Christian organization on the face of the earth. 1 West is the truth and is the home of the truth. What we're going to get into tonight, we're going to get into exactly how we were oppressed. I saw a post on Facebook last night that just, it just vexed me as I was reading it. So many things was just running through my head, and the audacity. We're gonna read it. We're gonna read exactly what the article is and exactly how these devils are so misinformed, or just do not really want to know how in the world that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians got into this position that we're in right now. And the gall, the sack that these people have, to speak on our people, especially how the way they have done. And when I'm saying this was one particular group of people in particular, but all the nations on the earth had a hand in our destruction. Every single nation had a hand in our destruction. I'm just reading, and just the pompous, he was just so high and mighty, like, hey, look at us. We've come from a bad situation and we picked ourselves up, but how come you can't do it? You know what I'm saying? And it just vexed my soul. So even at the time of me actually reading this, I just see myself on the podium, just blazing about this thing. And I just had to bring it out tonight. Hold on 1 second. If anybody has any questions in the room, let me know. And there's a question online. It's from Give Back What You Stole Now. Salaki, sir, if I may. How are Lot's daughters married? Genesis 19:8 through 14, if they have not known men yet, knowing that Known men means sex. Salakia, sir. That's a, let's take a stab at it. If you could, get me Genesis 14. Genesis 19. Genesis chapter 19 and verse 8. So basically, the sister's asked, Salakia, the person who's saying, I'm not sure if you sister or brother, Salakia, if I offended you, but it says the name of the person is give back what you stole. What they're asking is how come it's saying that they know not man when the Bible when it's saying known a man or known a woman means sex. Sex is marriage. So how can they saying this is not that when we know what this really means? So let's get 19 and verse 8.
Genesis chapter 19, verse 8. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man.
Read up two verses.
Genesis chapter 19, verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him.
Okay. So we're talking about Lot when he's actually in the city of cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So at this time, the Most High sent some angels to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because it was just wicked and nasty and disgusting in the sight of the Most High. So he says, I'm gonna cleanse this place. I'm gonna cleanse this place. You know what I'm saying? But I am going to save Lot and his family. So he sent these angels to go into Lot and his family. Lot seen them at the gates. He's seen that they were not people of the city. So he went, like, hey, y'all need to come on in before it gets too late, before anybody else sees you. So he brought them to their house. As he brought these angels to his house, there was Sodomites who seen him and was banging on the door and was saying, you need to let them out so that we can rape them. That's what they want to do. That's where Sodomite comes from this time in history, right? So these homosexuals wanted to rape these men that they just seen, like it was in prison, fresh meat, walking the block. So this is what he's saying. So Lot brought him in, and read verse 6 again.
Come. Verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him.
Right, because it's our custom. It's our custom. If we have visitors, it is our utmost duty and our responsibility to protect the people who are in our charge. If anybody comes within our domain, anybody comes within our home, it is our obligation to protect them at all costs, right? So this is why he went inside. He took them inside, and he went outside, closed the door behind them so that they can't gain entry into his house. Keep going.
Come. Verse 7. And said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly.
So he's saying, don't do this thing. You don't know. Whatever you do, just do not do these things. This is wicked what you are trying to do, right? Keep going.
Come. Verse 8. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man.
Right. So this is where the brother's question come up. He says he has 2 daughters which have not known man, which means they have not had sex. Right. That's what it means. They have not known man. He has 2 virgin daughters. Do not do that to my guests. I will give you my daughters for the sake of the safety of my guests. Right. So these his daughters were virgins. When I say virgins, they were of marriageable age. Wasn't some little 12-year-old and some little 8-year-old, right? These were his daughters who were of marriageable age, who have not been married. Right? Keep going.
Come. Verse 8, the middle of verse 8. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes.
So basically he's saying, what you want to do to these men, do not do that. I have two virgin girls who have not known a man. Do that to them. Okay? But leave my guests alone. Keep going.
Come. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof.
See, so what he's saying is they are my guests. I have to protect them at all costs. That's the custom of the Most High's chosen people. Now, question, is Lot of the Most High's chosen people?
Concert.
Why do you say that?
Really, if he wasn't, he wouldn't be even acknowledged.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, concert. Because he was living righteously. He lived following the law, statutes, and commandments. He didn't want anything to do with homosexuality, so he was willing to give up his daughters for it, just to keep that sin out of his house. He was, what was the word?
Well, let's stick with the question.
Concert.
Was he among the righteous, the Lord's chosen people? Was he among the Lord's chosen people?
I could not remember, sir.
No sweat. This is Lot. This is Abraham's nephew. That by definition, Abraham wasn't an Israelite, right? So the covenant was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Lot knows these customs because he came up under Abraham. Just like in the kingdom, everybody's going to be following the law. You know what I'm saying? Or face dire consequences. You know what I mean? So the reason why he knew this custom was because he came up under Abraham. He is not part of the Lord's chosen people, because it was Abraham's seed. He was not Abraham's seed. He was his kinsman, but he wasn't his seed. Just like Ishmael was blessed. He was not given the covenant. Abraham had more than had more than two kids.
Well,
Yeah, he had more kids, but that covenant passed down through Isaac and then passed down through Jacob, which is Israel. So he was not the part of the Most High chosen people. He was not within the covenant, but he learned the way that he learned our ways because he grew up and he came up under Abraham, right? So back to the question, he's saying, okay, right here is saying that these daughters didn't know no man, right? Let's get to his verse. Drop down to verse 14. Let's read what 14 says.
Come. Genesis chapter 19, verse 14. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
Okay, skip me up 2 verses if you could, Baba Kashaw.
Come. Verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place.
Okay, so right now, the angels had to step in. They were trying to break down the door and get to them, right? So the angels had to step in, blinded everybody, and he was like, all right, well, we about to put in the work right now, right? So if he said, if you have anybody you want to save, get them now. And this is a beautiful precept, because it was, I'm paraphrasing now. I can't remember the what the scripture, where the scripture is found, but it was you can be your kin, not your kin, but the people who are around you, who are involved in your life, like maybe your rib or your kids or something like that. They can be found justified through you. You know what I'm saying? Because you are precious in the Most High sight. The people around you can be spared some of the hells that other people would go through just by association. You understand what I'm saying? There is a scripture that says that. You know what I'm saying? And right here is proving that, because the whole city is about to get these cities are about to get destroyed. And because Abraham had a lot of love for Lot, the Most High had a lot of love for Abraham. He honored Abraham in saving Lot, right? So because Lot is about to get saved, the angels asked him, if you have anybody, who you want to be saved, go and get them now. That's where we are. Continue on.
Verse 13. For we will destroy this place.
All right, well, hold on. Read 12 again.
Verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides son-in-law?
So son-in-law, do you have any son-in-laws? Is anyone that married to your daughters, right? Keep going.
And thy sons.
Do you have any sons, right?
And thy daughters.
Do you have any daughters? Is self-explanatory right there, right?
And whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place.
So if you have any family members or even possessions that you want to be brought out, let's get them now, because everything's about to be destroyed. Keep going.
Verse 13. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord.
Right. Okay. So he's saying the sins of this city is just, it's just so disgusting. The Most High has to wipe it off the face of the earth. Keep going.
And the Lord hath sent us to destroy it.
Right. And here's the question. And here's a verse the brother had in the question. Right. Keep going.
Verse 14. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters.
Right.
And said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city.
Right. So he's telling his sons-in-laws that married his daughters to get you up out of this place, because the Most High is going to destroy this. Right. So because he had daughters, he wanted them to be saved from this destruction. So he told them, like, hey, y'all need to come with me. Right. Keep going.
Come. Verse 15. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
What does that mean?
Like he was making fun of them. I'm focused on the word mocked, and I don't think I should be, sir.
No, that's exactly what they're doing. It was like, yo, this dude's crazy. He don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about.
Not he was making fun of them. His sons-in-law was making fun of him.
His sons-in-law was making fun of him. Correct. That's exactly what was going on, right? So he's saying he's trying to tell his family, like, come on, and his son-in-law was like, nah, we good. You crazy, old man. Ain't nothing gonna happen here. This is one of the greatest cities on earth. Who's gonna fly some airplanes into the Twin Towers? You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna do that? Everybody loves this place. You can come here and you do anything. If you can make it, the city's so nice they named it twice. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking.
Oh, New York.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the, you know, no one comes here to you know, to want to destroy it. Everybody comes here because, you know, it has the statue that has hopes and dreams on its waterfront. You know what I'm saying? No one wants to come in and try and destroy this place, right? That's what they said back in the 90s. That's what they said, you know, in 2001. But yet someone planned to destroy it. Here, the Most High planned to destroy it. And that's exactly what he did. Keep reading.
Verse 15. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city.
So he said that when the morning arose, the angel told him to come up and let's go. Take your wife and take your 2 daughters and let's hit the road, because everything here is going to be destroyed. Now the brother's question was in verse 8. It says, you know, that he has 2 daughters which that have known no man. Then in verse 15 it says that he has sons-in-laws, right? He has sons-in-laws which married his daughters. And then in verse 15 it says, take thy 2 daughters. Take thy 2 daughters. Now we gotta actually look into, you know, these words, because these words have meanings. Words have very strong meaning, and if we read it too fast and we don't know our culture, our Israelite culture, we're not gonna things will go over our heads. Things will go over our heads. Now read verse 15. Matter of fact, no, read verse 14.
Verse 14. And Lot went out.
Hold on. Read verse 14, and I want you to think about our Israelite culture and custom when it concerns marriage. You know, from the beginning all the way up until up until the marriage, right? So think about that while we read this verse, right? Keep going.
Come. Verse 14. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law.
Spake unto his sons-in-laws. Didn't say how many it was. He said sons-in-laws, right? Keep going.
Come. Which married his daughters.
Right? He married his daughters. Keep going.
And said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law.
All right. Now read verse 15.
Verse 15. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife.
Take what?
Take thy wife.
So take whose wife?
His wife.
Right. Okay. Keep going.
And thy 2 daughters.
Who? What? Read that part again.
And thy 2 daughters.
And thy 2 daughters. Okay. Now what does that mean right there?
His 2 daughters.
Okay. So explain to me how Israelite custom is concerning marriage.
Marriage and sex.
Okay. Right. What else? Our culture around it.
Oh, marriage is forever.
What's okay? Give me a little bit more.
When a man takes a wife.
When a man what?
When a man takes a wife.
When a man what?
Takes a wife.
So if a man's taking a wife, where is he taking it from?
From her family to his family.
Okay. Who has possession of the woman before the husband takes the wife?
The father. Her father.
Her father, right? Okay, so this is our custom, right? This is Israelite custom. Once they are married, are they the father's possession?
When the man and the woman are married, she is his possession.
She is whose possession? When the man and woman are married, she is his possession.
The man who she married.
Right. Okay. So read verse 15 again.
Come. And when the morning arose, the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters.
And thy 2 daughters. So his wife and his 2 daughters. His wife and his 2 daughters. But in verse 8, it says he has daughters. He has 2 daughters that never knew a man. And then in verse 4, was it 14? In verse 14, where it says he has daughters that were married, right? This is simple, but yet complex, because a lot of times we don't know our own culture, right? When I say our own culture, I'm talking about Israelite culture. When a man is seeking to marry a woman, he has to go to the father. Why? Because that woman is the father's possession. That woman that is unmarried is that father's possession. Once she gets married, then she is the husband's possession. Right here, it's saying that he has a wife and he has 2 daughters. The other daughters that he had, because it didn't say that he only had 2 daughters and they never knew man. You know what I'm saying? We were living in times where Abraham, he was what? How old was he? He was what, 90 years old when he had his first kid?
94.
Yeah, he was in his 90s when he had his first kid. How much did he end up with? You said it earlier.
12 sons.
No, that's Isaac. That's what's that?
Didn't Ishmael have 12 sons too?
Ishmael had 12 sons. Yeah, Ishmael had 12 sons. But Abraham had more than 2 kids. I want to say, don't quote me on. I'm not even going to say that. He had more than 2 kids. I know that for certain. He had more than 2 kids, and he had his first kid when he was in his 90s. And Sarah was like in her 70s, where she was past childbearing age. So like I said, they were living in a time where they had a bunch of kids. Had a bunch of kids. Just because it said right here he had 2 daughters, we're just fixating he only had 2 daughters. He only had 2 kids. Where in times now, we think of having more than a handful of kids. 2 or 3 kids is a lot. And really, that isn't the way I would say the oppressor thinks that's a lot. Israel was still having 4, 5, 6 kids and whatnot. That's still amongst us. We're fruitful and we multiply, right? So you're getting tripped up on 2 daughters, and we're thinking that he only has 2 daughters. When he was talking about the women, his sons-in-laws, those were his daughters, but though they were the son-in-law's possession. That's why I said, take thy wife and take thy daughters, thy 2 daughters. Why? Because they were his possession. In verse 13, it says, was it verse 13? In verse 13 it says, is it 13? No.
I can read 13.
No, in verse 12. In verse 12 it says, you have any possessions. You have any sons, any daughters, any son-in-laws and sons, and anything that you have, get it and let's go. So when it comes down to verse 15, those were his possessions, his wife and his 2 daughters. So when they're saying he has, you know, 2 daughters, and then in a verse later, a couple of verses later, it says he has, you know, sons-in-laws, they're not talking about the same exact people. If that answers your question, just let me know. Now let's continue on with the topic of discussion tonight. I want you to read what got me fired up. Why blacks are behind economically. Read that for me, Baba Kashar.
Come.
I already know we ain't got time. We got enough time. I'm gonna try and get through this as fast as possible, with as much resources as possible.
Come. While blacks are behind economically. From the internet. Interviewer. Why are blacks so behind economically? Jewish leader. The only aspect blacks understand is consumption. Blacks don't understand the importance of building wealth. The fundamental rule is to keep your money within your racial group. We build Jewish businesses, hire Jewish, buy Jewish, and spend Jewish. There is nothing wrong with that, but it is a basic rule blacks cannot comprehend and follow.
That's something profound. He said, you know, that's a basic rule. But whenever we say that, blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians, we are deemed racist and separatists. We say this all the time. You know, the Jewish man does this, and he's lauded as, you know, as being, you know, some wise old sage, when he really isn't. You know what I'm saying? He's stealing our culture and our history, because that's what the Most High told us to do. Yet we're not doing that. We're following after our oppressor and saying we need to include everybody in everything. Right? Keep going.
Come, sir. I say something.
Yeah.
Slaki, sir. The Edomites, they know how to be separatists themselves. Even though they say everybody needs to come together, they know for a fact if they don't stick together themselves, they're going to be wiped out. So they still practice separatism themselves, but with the farce of joining together with everybody.
Yeah,
it's not true that they want to be with everybody, because in reality, they are by themselves anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why Trump will be running for re-election next go round, right? Keep going.
Karo. He kills his fellow blacks daily instead of wanting to see his fellow blacks do well. 93% of blacks killed in America are by other blacks.
Now that's I hate when people say crazy stuff like that. You know, because people among their own, you know, group kill themselves at a higher rate than someone from outside their group. White people kill more white people than black people kill white people. Asian people kill more Asian people than whites kill Asian people, or you know, black kill Asian people. You know what I'm saying? Africans kill more Africans than Arabs kill Africans. You know what I'm saying? Right. That whoever's in that racial group, that number is going to be high. You hook-nosed bastard, right? I hate that. I hate that argument. But keep going.
Their leaders steal from their people and send the money back to their colonial master, from whom they borrowed the same money from.
Right? Okay, from whom they borrow the same money from at an inflated interest rate. And if we can't pay that, you know, there is literal hell to pay. Now, unfortunately, we've learned from our oppressor that we want that it is good to be that house nigga. They have beat it into us so much that if we live in the house and eat the scraps from the master's table and wear his old clothes that he done tore up and do not want anymore, that we are better than other niggas that are out in the field, right? And that ideology has perpetuated so much so that it came down to where we are right now, where no one actually wants to free the slaves. Everybody wants to be able to chance to hold the whip. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to be able to chance to hold the whip to get their own gain. And this is really what he's speaking on. Our so-called leaders, our Al Sharptons, our Jesse Jacksons, people who we listen to, Steve Harveys and whatnot. All they want to do is get rich and enrich themselves. Steve Harvey has a chance to mentor any kid from Chicago, you know what I'm saying, who's impoverished, any kid from Miami, any kid from Trenton, New Jersey, any kid from here in Washington, D.C., or right back in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. What does he do? He goes ahead and adopts a bubble-headed, stinky bone in the nose, plate in the lip, doo-doo eating Hamite. That's who he prefers. Now he's holding the whip. He's saying, you niggas in Cleveland, where he came from, ain't no good. Let me go ahead and get this African that had a hand in rounding us up and selling us. Those are the leaders that this Amalekite is talking about. Right? Keep going.
Every successful black want to spend his money in the country of his colonial masters. They go on holiday abroad, buy houses abroad, school abroad, etc., instead of spending this money in their own country to benefit their people.
Their own country, our own country to benefit our people. Now, what are you talking about, our own country? The country that has a constitution, the DNA of the United States that says we're only 3/5 of a man. The Constitution, the country of the Constitution that says slavery is legal. If you do not believe me, just look up the 13th Amendment. A lot of people assume that the 13th Amendment was here to abolish slavery, but that is totally untrue. The 13th Amendment is there to solidify slavery. It makes it legal. You understand that? 13th Amendment makes it legal. How does it make it legal? Let me give you a real quick history about the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment says you cannot own or put any people in slavery, involuntary servitude, unless they commit a felony, unless they commit a crime. And then what did they do right after that? Everything that we do as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians became illegal, became a felony. So once we became felons, once we became criminals, it was then legal by the Constitution of the United States to put us in slavery. Do you know how many companies, Fortune 500 companies, operate off of slave labor? People in the prisons, in them jails, they have jobs, right? And they get paid like 35 cents an hour. They get paid like 35 cents an hour to do work for these major multi-billion-dollar corporations. And you tell me, slavery is not legal? Slavery is not abolished. Slavery is still legal to this day. So when he says, why are we doing this? Spending money in other countries when we shouldn't. Instead of spending money in our own country, in our own government, well, government doesn't give a goddamn about us. Never has and never will. What we should do is pay our tithes to Commander General Yahanna and watch him really build this nation, really build the most highest nation within this stinking nation.
That's right.
That's what we should do. But as far as spending money on our government, we own nothing. You know what I'm saying? We own nothing. When we try to build something up, you people tear it down. Keep going.
Come. Statistics show that the Jews' money exchanges hands 18 times before leaving his community, while for blacks, it is probably a maximum of once or even zero.
Okay, so he's saying the way what he's talking about is within a certain community. So once you get paid, once you have money, you're going to buy stuff, you're going to spend money on different things, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, buy some food, buy some clothes, watch some type of entertainment, and things of that nature. It stays within their community and exchanges hands 18 times before it goes out. It goes to a different community. Now with blacks, I've seen a statistic on it with blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians. Now this number of times, it has like an actual time frame on it. The Jewish man, that 18 times when he was talking about it equates to about, I want to say is one let's see, the Jewish man was the highest. So it was a Jewish man, stays in his community, that 18 times equates to about 40 days. Second highest was the Asian community, stays in there about 32 days. Then you got the white man, everywhere is his community, so it really stays in it forever, right? It stays in the community for about 14 or 15 days. And it gets down to us. You know how long? Take a wild guess. Take a wild guess of the time-wise it stays in our community. Now, after everything that I explained, how we of how the money exchanges hands, what we buy and things of that nature, just take a guess of how much time it is. Go ahead.
30 seconds or less.
Now it's a little longer than that. It's a little longer than that. Anybody out here in Facebook, YouTube land want to chime in on this? Just take a guess at how long our money stays in our community, time-wise. I'm gonna give it a second. You want to take another guess at it?
A day.
When I seen the stat, it made me physically sick. I read this article, it made me physically sick. I was disgusted that this number was so low. I was pissed off as well. And I wasn't pissed off at us. At us, taking our money and then going to another community. I wasn't that's not what made me physically ill. What made me so pissed off is, let me get to the number. The number is a grand total of 6 hours. 6 hours. So that means when we get paid, because we get paid, electronic transfer, ETF, it comes in our bank account. We at work, right? We at the slave. Before that shift is over, because 9 times out of 10 we work 8 hours, right? Some work more, some work less. 9 times out of 10, we work 8 hours. So within that shift, that money has already left our community. Has already left our community. Now let's take a look at the things that we buy, right? Let's take a look at the things we buy. Our biggest expenditure, our biggest expense is what? Housing, right? So you take whether it's a mortgage or whether you take his rent, that goes out. We do not own property like that. And there's a big reason why we do not own property. Why? Because we cannot get loans that have favorable, interest rates. And when we do get loans that have favorable interest rates, they are, sky high. So we would have to pay more for the same thing that someone of another race would have to pay for, right? And the reason why they say that we cannot have said loan, the excuses that they give, is that, your income isn't high enough, right? That's one of the reasons why they say our income isn't high enough. But how come our income isn't high enough? Why? Because, you know, our schools are in decay. We're being taught by our oppressors, so they don't give a rat's. They don't care about us. You know what I'm saying? They're teaching us curriculum, outdated curriculum, and with outdated, you know, resources. The school books are falling apart and whatnot. So that when we actually go to college, because for a long time that was a model. If you get good grades and you actually go to college, you can get a degree, and then you can have a good job, right? And then you can get that loan, you can get that nice house, you can get that nice car. That's not really so for Black people. It's not really so. And then especially nowadays, how many people out there who actually, you know, there's not a lot. How many people out there who have a college degree and is actually working in that field that the degree is in? It's not a lot. I want to say it's like 45%. It's like 45% of people who got the degree is working in that field. It's not a lot. It's not a lot. Moreover, you have other races who can have that get that loan, buy that house at favorable interest rates, can then go and pay for their kids, you know, college education. Whereas for us, we have to get student loans, and there is no way you're going to get rid of student loans. You can call for bankruptcy. They will put it on hold. They'll tell them to stop calling you for a time, and then you're going to still be back on the student loans. I know the sister who was this Eve I slaved with. She was in school for. She hadn't gotten her degree yet, but she was in school for like 2 or 3 years. $68,000. Like, are you serious? And it wasn't even complete yet. $68K in a state where school wasn't like if you were to go to an Ivy League school or something like that. I can't even say I understand that. Why does it cost $68,000? You know, unless you go from first year of college all the way through med school or law school. You know what I'm saying? At Ivy League school, I can understand that. But for a BA in literature, really, it's gonna cost me $68,000 to learn how to read, you know, Old English, Shakespeare. Nah. This kingdom is disgusting. It's disgusting, absolute disgusting. So now we have to pay for all our stuff, right? Keep going. And I know I'm reading this. I'm not even getting to, you know, scratching the surface, right? Keep going. This is what this Amalekite said.
Come. Only 6% of Black money goes into their community.
Why? Because we own nothing. We can never start anything and actually have it flourish. How do I know this? Ask Seneca Village. Oh, you can't. It's Central Park now, right? Or how about Black Wall Street? Well, we actually had an airport. How many years removed from slavery? It wasn't even that far. 1 or 2 generations removed from slavery, we built up a Black utopia where we had doctors. You know what I'm saying? Where we had business people, we had farmers. We were self-sustaining. And they burned it down. They took their planes from our airports, because we actually had an airport in Black Wall Street, and they bombed our city. They bombed our city down to the ground. Where is Black Wall Street now? There is no Black Wall Street. How about the Harlem Renaissance? You know what I'm saying? There was a ton of people there who had, you know, who had an education, who had a class, who had, you know, is the reason why it's called, you know, Renaissance, and who had a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? The first Black female millionaire who did the hair care products. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't from Harlem, but that's where Madam CJ Walker. But that's where she exploded. You know what I'm saying? And she chose to be in Harlem. How's Harlem now? Especially in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? It went from the Black Renaissance to being the Walking Dead zone. You know what I'm saying? If anybody's seen The Walking Dead, you know, seeing zombies walking around, that's how Harlem was like. It's coming back. It's coming back thanks to Commander General Yahanna. That's where headquarters is. You know what I'm saying? It's coming back, but even now, it's being gentrified. It's not even called Harlem anymore. How is it called? It's called Soho. We can't even have our own stuff anymore. We never could have our stuff. Whenever something was popping off in our eyes, it would be taken from us. Right? Keep going.
This is why Jews are at the top and blacks are at the bottom of every ladder of society.
You bastard, you dirty bastard, you filthy, disgusting rat, hook-nosed bastard. I can't believe that he actually said this stuff. You see what I'm saying? My blood was boiling when I first read this. That's why you were at the top and we're at the bottom. Well, when we do have stuff, you people take it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's what's that singer name? Lionel Richie. You know Rodeo Avenue? You ever heard of Rodeo Avenue? Anyway, Rodeo Avenue is like Fifth Avenue in New York, but in LA, right? So it's a bunch of high-end stores within like this 12-block, radius. It's like a long, shopping center, right? Lionel, you familiar with that, right? Okay, Lionel Richie owns like 11 of the 12 blocks. Yeah. He owns 11 of the 12 blocks, and since the beginning, they have been trying to take it from him. He has fought long and hard. This brother, the Most High is with this brother. Why? Because the Jew, especially the Jewish man in particular, set stuff up to where they try to manipulate the contracts and then just flat out take it from him. That's the spirit of this oppressor that's speaking here in this. When we have something, all they want to do is take what we have for themselves, and then they wonder why we can't, why it seems like we can't get up from being knocked down. Because every time we get up, you bastards knock us down, and one of the reasons why is because we actually let you in. We actually let you in. You say, you want to help us and whatnot, but that's a double cross. You just get in the organization, you infiltrate the organization, and then you weed us out. You're like a bunch of termites that eat at the foundation. And once we actually find out what is going wrong, it's too late. You got to condemn the whole place. Just take over. You're like a bunch of viruses. Right? Keep going.
God. Instead of buying Louis Vuitton, Hermes, expensive cars, shoes, houses, dresses, etc., blacks could industrialize Africa, build banks, and get rid of colonial institutions by putting them out of business.
All right, now we ain't Africans.
Right.
We ain't Africans. Let's get that straight. We may have been captured and started our captivity from there to over here, but we are not in no way, shape, or form Africans. So we should not put money in anything over there, right?
That's right.
As far as the other things that we should do, we have done that. We have done that, and once again, you have done nothing. You have stopped at nothing short. Salakia. Yeah, sir. Come on, sir. Come on, Pastor. Come on, come on. Come on. Come on, come on. Come on, Pastor. No sweat. You know, before I go on, I just want to announce that 12 Shield General Muhammad will be in Baltimore this Thursday. He will be in Baltimore this Thursday. If you have if you need some counsel, get a hold of your camp leader. Prepare for a scripture breakdown this Thursday in Baltimore. Right? Did you have something? Oh, you was reading? All right, let's keep reading.
Come. Interviewer. Your thoughts on failure of blacks after 150 years? Jewish leader. Well, nothing is ever the black man's fault.
You see this self-righteous, condescending dog crap that he's peddling? Are you serious? Are you serious? How can we spend money in our own community when you take everything that we actually build? You know what I'm saying? I hear about all these old musicians and how they getting duped out of their deals and their royalties because all you do is take. You know what I'm saying? You actually steal from the artist. And it's not just old musicians. I mean, it's musicians now, but it's not just that. It's in business as well. All they do is take and because of them, you have to read the fine print. Because of our oppressor, there is fine print. When the scriptures say, "Let your yeas be yeas and your nays be nays," shouldn't be no goddamn fine print. Keep going.
Come.
And that's right. Someone online says they oppress us through the media and food and schools. That's right. Absolutely right. Keep going.
Come. His compulsive habit of killing his own, compulsive material consumption, his inability to build business or preserve wealth are usually somebody else's fault.
Inability to build businesses and build wealth. You know, that's a goddamn lie. That's a goddamn lie. We build businesses every day. Every day. Unfortunately, because you control the media, all you highlight is the bad business that we build. You know what I'm saying? All you highlight is the businesses of violence and drug abuse and drug use. That's all you highlight. But we have how many times those of us who when we were kids, who has mothers or sisters when someone would come to their house or they would go to someone's house and have their hair done. You know what I'm saying? Or how many times we have when we need like something sewn or something made, we know somebody who can actually do that. You know what I'm saying? Or how many times we had a fish fry, a regular old fish fry. Yeah. I don't even think this is a thing nowadays, but when we had block parties, there was a whole lot of business within us that we had. So this is a goddamn lie. And he's spitting this vile, disgusting lies about us. Get me Revelations 3:9, if you could, Baba Kashaw. If you could. You disgusting bastards who are always perpetrating, some falsehoods about us and about themselves. Well, this is what the Most High has to say about you.
Revelations chapter 3, verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not.
They say they are Jews, but they are not.
But do lie.
But do lie. These are liars. Absolute, unadulterated, pathetic, stinking liars with the yeshivas and the man. Man, these people are going to get it. These people are going to get it. You know, perpetrating the Lord's chosen people. Is there any more on that?
Concept.
Keep going.
Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet.
All this time that you saying, you know, our compulsions to kill each other off and our inability to make businesses and grow businesses and preserve our wealth for ourselves. Most High says what?
Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet.
You are going to worship at our feet. You are going to worship at our feet. This is not some hope and prayer and idea that may come and we hope that it might come. No, this is actually going to happen. You dirty, disgusting, hook-nosed rat bastards. Go back to the article, Baba Kishar.
Come.
Lying bastard, thieves.
Jewish leader.
Now read the next one. Interviewer. So what?
Salaki. Interviewer. So what can blacks do to liberate themselves?
I'm gonna tell you what blacks can do to liberate themselves right after this. Keep going.
Jewish leader. Blacks must take responsibility. Blacks must unite and vehemently fight corrupt leaders who run down their country and run to IMF as though IMF is Father Christmas.
Well, what we need to do is first recognize who we are. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the Most High's chosen people. We are the true Jews according to the Bible. And our rightful place is the rulers of this entire earth. That is our rightful place. How do we take responsibility? Follow the Lord's Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? Stop being poor. Stop celebrating Christmas. Stop hating your brother. You stop sleeping with another man's wife. Stop taking in strange women. Stop getting abortions. You know what I'm saying? Women, stop throwing your man out because he has another woman. Men, stop throwing your woman out because of whatever. Because men, that's the thing. The men in Israel, if we actually knew what sex really was, sex was really marriage, and we actually understood that, one, we wouldn't be just going out, smashing everything that we can get our hands on. That's one. And two, once we realize that we're the Most High chosen people and we can actually have more than one rib, we would actually take our time, do our due diligence to see if this woman is actually worth taking care, having her be called by our name. That way, we wouldn't need to throw them away. You know what I'm saying? We wouldn't need to be like our oppressor and just make it a zero-sum game. If I want this one, I'm gonna have to get rid of this one first, and then once I got this one, I see another one over here, and I'm gonna have to get rid of this one to get that one over there. We cut all that out. This is how we take responsibility, by following the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments. Now let's get to the article I sent you. Let me see which one. Now they say, we blame ourselves and we can't build wealth, we can't build businesses and everything like that. Let's go to the History Channel article. Let's go to the History Channel article real quick. Start reading once you got it.
Iran-Contra affair.
Now, does anybody know what the Iran-Contra affair is? You can keep reading.
Come. The Iran-Contra affair was a secret U.S. arms. Advertisements. The Iran-Contra affair was a secret U.S. arms deal that traded missiles and other arms to free some Americans held hostage by terrorists in Lebanon, but also used funds from the arms deal to support armed conflict in Nicaragua. The controversial deal and the ensuing political scandal threatened to bring down the presidency of Ronald Reagan.
So it threatened this scandal was so huge it almost took down a sitting U.S. president. It almost took down a sitting U.S. president. What the Iran-Contra scandal is, we're going to get into it. We're going to get some more stuff behind it. But what it is they took some hostages for I'm not going to say a second time, because the first time was when there was like a revolution in Iran and they overthrew, and this was actually going to get into it. They overthrew the sitting head, and they took like about 300, U.S. diplomats. And I take that back. They took a number of U.S. diplomats for a little over a year, right? And then it was a whole thing, to actually get them back, right? It's this time they took nine people and as hostages. Some of it was diplomats, some of them was contractors. And the U.S. Policy, and has always been the U.S. policy, was they will never negotiate with terrorists, right? And it was a big scandal when Obama had negotiated with the terrorists to get back some hostages over in Iraq. I don't know if you remember that, but it was a big thing. It was like, oh my God, we have never done it before, and now we elect the first black president, which really he was an African president, and now we're negotiating with terrorists. Well, according to this Iran-Contra scandal, Reagan negotiated with them. Why didn't they bring that up? Because they hold themselves not guilty. That's according to the scripture, right? Keep going.
Come. Reagan Doctrine. The Iran-Contra affair, also known as the Iran-Contra scandal and Iran-Gate, may not have happened were it not for the political climate in the early 1980s. President Ronald Reagan, who won the White House in 1980, wasn't able to maintain the political momentum for his Republican colleagues, and the GOP was swept from the majority in both the Senate and House of Representatives in 1982 midterm elections. The results would duplicate the president's agenda.
Hold on, say it again.
The results would complicate the president's agenda. The results would complicate the president's agenda. During his campaign for the White House, Reagan had promised to assist anti-communist insurgencies around the globe, but the so-called Reagan Doctrine faced a political hurdle following those midterm elections.
So if you know anything about U.S. politics, things will have to be sort of synergistic, right? So if you have a Republican president and you have the House and the Senate, Democratic House and the Senate, is kind of some checks and balances. So if the Republican wants to do one thing and is against the quote unquote morals or the ideals of the opposite, then they're going to hold back on that, right? Whereas if you have the both Senate and the House is the same as a president's, background, if the president says something, 9 times out of 10, the House and Senate is just going to go roll with it. You got something?
Oh, I was just going to bring out a word you was thinking about. You said background. I was going to say allegiance.
Allegiance. Exactly. That's a better word. That's a better word. They have the same allegiance, right? So, but when he was elected, it was a Republican House and Senate. So he had some ideas and some thoughts that he wanted to do, and his agenda was to help the help. He wanted to assist in the anti-communist regime that was going on in Nicaragua, right? And when they lost the House and the Senate, it wouldn't go as smoothly as he would have thought. And he went to underhanded. He did some underhanded things, right? Keep going.
Come. Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Soon after taking control of Congress, the Democrats passed the Bolin Amendment, which restricted the activities of the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and Department of Defense, DOD, in foreign conflicts.
Right. So if you don't know, those two branches of the those two organizations within the U.S. government deals mainly overseas. CIA deals exclusively overseas, supposed to, and DOD, operates both in U.S. and OCONUS. Right. Keep going.
The amendment was specifically aimed at Nicaragua, where anti-communist Contras were battling the communist Sandinista government. Reagan had described the Contras as the moral equivalent of the founding fathers.
The moral equivalent of the founding fathers, in which he would do anything he could to assist them, right? Including being off the backs of our people at the cost, not of it, but at the cost, at the detriment, of our people. Keep going.
But much of their funding to that point had come from Nicaragua's cocaine trade.
Cocaine trade, right? Nicaragua, had a lot of keys in Nicaragua, right? In order for them to fund their campaign against the government at that time, they had to make some sort of money, and the money that they made was through cocaine. Keep going.
Hence Congress's decision to pass the Bolin Amendment.
Right. Now, it took me a minute to realize what in the world was going on and how everything, came in a full circle. But I understood it, and I'm gonna explain it to you. So they were funneling money to Nicaragua, to the Contras. The Contras were their main source of income was the cocaine trade. The Democrats said, well, since they're making money off of cocaine, you can't funnel money to them, and that's where the Bolin Act comes in, right? So that's what the Bolin Amendment, not the Bolin Act, the Bolin Amendment came in and said you cannot do that. All right, keep going.
Come. Still, the president instructed his national security advisor, Robert McFarland, to find a way to assist the drug dealing Contras, regardless of the cause, political or otherwise.
So he says, man, F them niggas. Do what I told you to do. Just don't make it, known. So it's saying the president, told his national security advisor, you need to do this. You need to make this happen. Even though the whole point of having, these checks and balances was to limit exposure like this, he still went around it. Keep going.
Iran hostage crisis.
So with that dealing, so this is the Contra part of the Iran Contra scandal. So we got the most of what was going on in Nicaragua for the Contras. Now we go into the Iran part of it.
Meanwhile, in the Middle East, where U.S. relations with many nations were strained to the breaking point, two regional powers, Iraq and Iran, were engaged in a bloody conflict.
All right, keep going.
At the same time, Iranian-backed terrorists in Hezbollah were holding hostage 7 Americans, diplomats and private contractors in Lebanon. Reagan delivered another ultimatum to his advisors: find a way to bring those hostages home.
All right, so they went and found a way to bring those hostages home. What the terrorists wanted was very specific, right? So we're gonna read what that was. Keep going.
Calm. In 1985, McFarlane sought to do just that. He told Reagan that Iran had approached the United States about purchasing weapons for its war against neighboring Iraq. There was, however, a U.S. trade embargo with Iran at the time, dating back to that country's revolution and subsequent overthrow of Shah Pahlavi of Iran, during which 52 American hostages were held for 444 days in a diplomatic standoff known as the Iran hostage crisis.
So what? Not only did they say we do not negotiate with terrorists, they just negotiated with terrorists, right? Not only did the Congress made an amendment saying that the president cannot funnel money to the Contras, they went around a way and still did that, right? Not only was there a trade embargo that the U.S. put on Iran, they still found a way to actually, give them what they wanted. It's no wonder January 6th happened. Why? Because whatever law that they create, that they put on themselves or put on other people, they expect us to obey their laws when they don't even obey their own laws. They don't even respect their own laws. We're ruled by a class of lawless people. You know what I'm saying? Why should we aspire to be anything like them when they can't even abide by their own laws? When they invade, when they can't get their way, they invade their nation's capital, and then defecate and smear feces all over, senators' walls and desks and all that. Why should we aspire to be like a people like that? You had some
concert. That was their spirit when they wanted to run away from the British, or whoever in UK, to come over here. They was running away from persecution in the first place.
Yeah. And they just wanted to do whatever they wanted to do.
Awesome.
And they got over here, and that's exactly what they're still doing. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Although several members of Reagan's administration opposed it, including Secretary of State George Shultz and Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger, McFarlane argued that an arms deal with Iran would not only secure the release of the hostages, but help the United States improve relations with Lebanon, providing the country with an ally in a region where it desperately needs one.
Right.
Needed. And as an aside, the arms deal will secure funds that the CIA could secretly funnel to the Contra insurgency in Nicaragua. With the backing of McFarlane and CIA Director William Casey, Reagan pushed ahead with the trade over the objections of Weinberger and Schultz.
So the plan was they would sell these weapons to Iran, whom they put an embargo saying that no one can trade with them, but we're going to do some underhanded stuff and trade with you and violate two policies. You know what I'm saying? The trade embargo and the we do not negotiate with terrorists. You know what I'm saying? They violated two things that is very staunch within the U.S. Government. And when they were going to do that, they were going to violate something else that had been put in place that they had voted on with the Bowen Act, which says that they will not take money and send money to the Contras. This is all our oppressor. They are not people of their words. Get me Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. Give me Ecclesiasticus 12 and 10. They are proving the scriptures right whenever they act. They're proving the scriptures right. Read what you got.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy.
Never trust thine enemies. The Most High called these people our enemies when he said that they were going to put us on cargo slave ships and sell us. And sell us for slave men and slave women. He called them our enemies then, and they are still our enemies now. I don't know why we think we can be equal with them when the Most High says we're above them. Keep going.
For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness.
So like iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Even though they have laws and bills and whatnot that they have put out, and amendments that they have put out that they supposed to follow, the very person who is supposed to be above the fray and who's supposed to be a man of leadership and qualities and whatnot, he purposely subverts what the American people have voted in place. He's telling the American people that you do not mean nothing. I am going to do what I want to do. Right? Keep going.
That's the verse, sir.
That's the verse. All right, go back to the article if you could, Baba Shaw. We ain't got no time for this.
Come. Oliver North, Lebanese newspaper Al-Shara first reported the arms deal between the United States and Iran in 1986, well into Reagan's second term. By that time, 1,500 American missiles had been sold to Iran for $30 million. 3 of the 7 hostages in Lebanon were also released, although the Iran-backed terrorist group there later took 3 more American hostages. Reagan initially denied that he had negotiated with Iran or the terrorists, only to retract the statement a week later. Meanwhile, Attorney General Edwin Meese launched an investigation into the weapons deal and found that some $18 million to the $30 million Iran had paid for the weapons was unaccounted for.
So $18 million was missing back in the 80s, Salakia. Back in the 80s. Where did it go? It went to the Iran, went to the Contras in Nicaragua, right? And because of the Bowen Act, this is what they had to resort to funneling money over to the Contras in Nicaragua. Now this was one way that they pumped money into it. The other way, matter of fact, continue reading.
Come. It was then that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North of the National Security Council came forward to acknowledge that he had diverted the missing funds to the Contras in Nicaragua, who used them to acquire weapons.
Right. Okay. So because of the Bowen Amendment, it prohibited the U.S. from sending money to the Contras because they were drug runners. They were drug traffickers, right? So they still wanted to do it. So with this Iran deal, they took some of the money, $18 million of the 30, and they put it to the Contras. Now that was just one sum. The money and the cause had to keep going. So because these Contras were drug runners, they allowed the U.S. allowed the Contras to pump more and more drugs into the U.S. And where did those drugs wind up? Right here in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities. Right here in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American communities. So when that nasty hook-nosed bastard say that we can't pick ourselves up, or we don't have the aptitude to have businesses and whatnot, and we hate each other, we kill each other, stop putting drugs in our community. Leave us the hell alone. You know what I'm saying? Let us thrive on our own. Let us take our little money and multiply it within our communities so that we can own our stuff, our real estate, our businesses, our farms. Leave us the hell alone so that we can cultivate what we have and build what little we have in this thing in kingdom. How about that? How about you stop funneling drugs specifically into our communities? How about you stop doing that? And this bastard say, you know, he's so high and mighty, like, hey, this is what we did, when really you did not do that on your own. The world came to your aid. You know what I'm saying? The world came to your aid and then took another people's land, misplaced them or displaced them, and put you in there. Not only did they do that, they set things up to where you get resources and money every single year. The U.S. alone gives them billions of dollars, gives the state of Israel billions of dollars every single year, aside from the resources that has been given to Israel. Well, let's just think of this: if the Amalekites were freed in Germany after World War II, what if they were actually had to stay there amongst the Germans after they did all that to them? You know what I'm saying? There will be Jewish Jim Crow laws. You know what I'm saying? There will be lynchings over there. Now imagine if once we got out of slavery and we got put back in our land and the world helped us, gave us money, still gives us money to this day. How will the tables have turned? You nasty, stinking, hook-nosed bastard! I cannot stand these Amalekites. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what I wanted to bring out. That is just how many articles did I send you? I sent you about 5 or 6. 5. That's just a tip of what I wanted to bring out. There is so much more just in this little part of the Iran-Contra scandal. Why? Because it goes really deep as to exactly how the Contras got their drugs into our communities, and how the U.S. let it happen because they wanted to keep funding the Contras. CIA let it happen and actually helped them and assisted them in getting the drugs here. So when you say, you know, that we're blaming the white man, or we're blaming everybody else, when we look at our neighborhoods and our neighborhoods is not ours, we own no stores. You know what I'm saying? We're the best cooks and we don't even have, the chicken spot. You know what I'm saying? We the best dressers and we don't have the stores that selling the wares. You know what I'm saying? Our women keep their hair, up. Keeps their hair up. And we don't own the hair salon or the beauty supply stores. So when you saying stuff like that, we can't do that, it's because people, when we do have it, other people's takes it from us. Or they help other nations come into our communities and set up shop. And they put stuff in to trip us up, like drugs and alcohol and Christianity and Planned Parenthood. You put all that in your community and see how long you last. With that, I pass the class to Priest and Officer Pagaibawa.
Security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yahanna. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shut themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means 10th in Hebrew and is pronounced ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocation is Purim.
Behind you.
Purim, the 14th day and the 15th day of the 12th month. Monday, the 14th of February, and Tuesday, the 15th of February, 2022. You can find this in the book of Esther, chapter 9, verses 20 through 31. Remind Akim and Akwathian to check on social media such as ISUPK.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISUPK events and materials. If a brother wants to be a trooper in the school, you should start wearing all black, which includes black boots, black shirts, black pants, black headband, or scarf. And with that,
hold on, real quick. I just want to remind everybody that this Thursday we'll be having the scripture breakdown with 12 Shield General Muhammad in Baltimore, Maryland. If you need some counsel, please get with your camp leader so that you can schedule the counsel with General Muhammad. He will be in town in Baltimore, Maryland, Thursday night for the Thursday night scripture breakdown class. He will be in town. If you need some counsel or anything like that and you need to holler at General Muhammad, he will be in Baltimore this Thursday. What's the date on that? Thursday is Salakia. It's the 10th. He will be here on the 10th in Baltimore, Maryland. If you do not know where that is, get with the camp leader or just type in I.S.U.P.K. Baltimore, and that the address will come up. All right.
Come. And with that, I say Imadium, which means to stand. We'll give one courtesy salute to the teacher, men of Israel. Imadium Shabbat, Imadium, Barak, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah Brakatah.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah Brakatah.
Yahya Matah, class dismissed.